Ever heard a knock at the door, but no one was there, or felt eyes watching you in the dead of night when you knew you were alone? Tonight, I'm taking you deep into the unknown with 5 chilling first-hand paranormal experiences that real people have lived to tell. These stories will make you question everything you thought you knew about the world. So, turn the lights down low and let's begin. Just don't say I didn't warn you. Beth was driving down an empty stretch of road in Nevada one cold December night. It was past midnight when the snow started coming down hard. The highway was deserted, not a single car in sight, and her headlights cut through the eerie darkness, reflecting off the snowflakes. That's when she saw him, a figure waving frantically on the side of the road. She slowed the car, her hands gripping the wheel tightly. The man was wearing a tattered coat, his face pale as moonlight. But what caught Beth's attention were his eyes. They looked hollow, almost dead. Against her better judgment, she rolled the window down just a crack to ask if he needed help. But before she could speak, he leaned in close, pressing his face against the glass and whispered, "Don't look behind you." Beth's heart stopped. She froze, barely able to breathe, but something compelled her to glance in the rearview mirror. What she saw made her scream, a shadow-like figure sitting in her back seat, staring at her. Fighting sheer panic, she slammed her foot on the gas, not looking back. They say she drove 30 miles straight before daring to pull over, and when she did, the backseat empty. For Jane and her fiancé, it was supposed to be the perfect getaway, a charming Airbnb tucked into the heart of New Orleans' French Quarter. The host had even mentioned it had some historical charm. They arrived late in the evening, unpacked, and headed straight to bed. That's when the nightmare began. Around 2 a.m., Jane woke up to a strange noise. It was the sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate, coming from the hallway. She nudged her fiancé awake, but he groggily dismissed it as old pipes. Still uneasy, Jane got up to investigate. As she stepped out of the bedroom, she saw a figure, a shadowy woman. She stood at the end of the hallway, her back turned toward Jane, her long, dark hair matted and dripping water onto the hardwood floor. Jane's voice caught in her throat as she whispered, "Hello." The figure didn't move. But suddenly she turned her head, slowly, too slowly, and though her body was facing away, her face, pale, hollow-eyed, and twisted in a cruel grin, stared directly at Jane. The figure started walking backward toward her. Mark and his friends thought it would be fun to explore an old cemetery in Salem, Massachusetts, after dark. Armed with flashlights and a Ouija board, they teased each other about summoning a ghost. "What's the worst that could happen?" Mark joked. That's when they found the tombstone of Mary Whitaker, a woman who had been accused of witchcraft in the 1600s. Thinking it would be funny, and against his friend's urging, Mark said out loud, "If you're here, Mary, give us a sign." For a while, nothing happened. They laughed it off and prepared to leave, but then a distinct scraping noise echoed through the air, as if something heavy was being dragged across stone. They turned their flashlights toward the noise and saw scratch marks appearing on Mary's tombstone. Fresh marks. Mark stepped back, panicking, when suddenly he felt ice-cold fingers brush against the back of his neck. He spun around. Nothing there. But when they later examined the photos they'd taken in the graveyard that night, there was Mary, a woman in a black tattered dress, staring at them from the edge of the frame. Laura never believed in ghosts, especially not in her cozy suburban home in Ohio. But after moving in, strange things started happening. At first, it was small, a picture frame that fell off the wall, a glass that tipped over when no one was near. But one night, as Laura was putting her son to sleep, he turned to her and said, "Mom, the man in the corner says he doesn't like us being here." Laura, trying not to freak out, glanced at the corner her son was pointing at. It was empty. But the next morning, she found deep claw marks scratched across the wooden wall in a spot her son could not have reached. Every night after that, her son would speak of the man, until Laura finally fled the house, unable to sleep another night under its roof. Jake was an avid hiker. He loved venturing off the beaten path to explore untouched parts of the Appalachian Trail. One evening, Jake set up camp in a remote clearing with no signs of civilization for miles. As he sat by his fire, enjoying the stillness of the night, he heard it, a faint voice calling his name. Jake, he looked around, confused. No one should have been out here. The voice called again, this time from deeper in the woods. Against his instincts, Jake grabbed his flashlight and followed the sound, calling out, "Hello? Is someone there?" That's when he saw it, a human figure standing between the trees. The figure was tall, impossibly thin, and its head was tilted unnaturally to the side. When Jake called out, "Are you okay?" the figure simply grinned, an impossibly wide smile with too many teeth. Jake ran back to his camp, only to find that his tent had been slashed open, the fire extinguished. He left everything behind and sprinted for miles until sunrise. Thank you for joining me in uncovering tonight's terrifying tales. This is Dark Demon Tales, where mystery, fear, and the paranormal collide. If you enjoyed diving into the shadows with me, make sure to leave a like. It helps me bring you even more unsettling encounters. And don't forget to share these stories with anyone who's not afraid to face what goes bump in the night. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, but most importantly, stay safe, because sometimes the scariest thing out there is what we never see coming.